One late afternoon, I was half lying on the couch in the lounge, savoring the aroma of coffee with my eyes closed. A cheerful but sharp step came toward me, while a pleasant aroma of coffee that penetrated into my head. The sound of footsteps stopped before me, and when I opened my eyes, there was Catherine looking down at me. As I rose hastily from my seat, Catherine said, sweeping her hair with one hand,
"Fortunately, you haven't left work yet."
"Oh, yes. I was having a cup of coffee before I got off work. But, do you have anything to say to me?" Then, Catherine pressed my shoulders and put me back on the couch, then came up to my side, and sat down. And she stared at me. I feel it every time I treat Catherine, but she had a strange talent for making people uncomfortable. Obviously she was young and beautiful, but when I was with her, not only her gaze at me, but also the air around me felt heavy. Unable to bear this strange pressure any longer, I stood up from my seat, and told her, "If you have nothing to say, I'll go home now." Then she folded her arms and leaned her back against the couch, calling my name in a quiet voice.
"Research Engineer Benjamin."
"Yes, Chief Technology Officer."
"I need you to do it one more time."
It was as I expected. Catherine intended to leave the terrible work to me once again. "Oh, what kind of work are you talking about?" I wanted to avoid it somehow, so I pretended not to understand, but she was already looking into my head. Catherine, rising from her seat, came to me dangerously close. And she whispered in my ear,
"I know it's not easy. But if you do well again this time, you will have a bright future, I promise."
I closed my eyes to Catherine's gruesome sweet whisper.
"Then I'll be waiting for a good result."
Thus Catherine disappeared from my presence, and I was again given the task that I had vowed never to do again. And then a few days passed. "I can't do this. This is not right." I spoke out to Catherine for the first time since I joined the company. But Catherine said, staring coldly at me, even without blinking,
"Not right? You sound like I'm directing something illegal."
What Catherine said was true. There was no such thing as a law banning what we do, or what I have to do from now on. Because the law wouldn't even know this was possible. I murmured in a weak voice, "These crazy experiments will destroy the ethics and morality of the world." Then Catherine pointed her finger at me, and said,
"You look only on one side of the shield. Ethics and morality are just illusions, made by humans, based on humans. I guess you're forgetting, but that's not human. Don't forget that fact."
Catherine finished speaking and turned, but I couldn't contain the boiling emotion, so I shouted at her back, "Not human. That thinks the same as humans. That has emotions just like humans. And that has hot blood, just like humans. But that's not human. So what the hell is that different from humans?" Catherine, who was about to leave the room, stopped and looked back at me.
"Benjamin, are you an idiot? Humans are not created in a laboratory. Humans are human, because they are born from humans. From a human woman, like me."
There was a cold sneer around Catherine's mouth, looking at me. Having no more confidence to argue with her, I murmured helplessly in a small voice, "That was born of you too." But Catherine did not hear it, so she disappeared from my presence. The clock, which I looked at after waking up, pointed to 5 a.m. Last night, I suffered from a nightmare, in which Catherine appeared without fail. Now you're bothering me even in my dreams. There was no more time for delay. I had to choose either way. As soon as I arrived at the company, I visited Ella. Ella, I need to talk to you. Ella looked up, glanced at me, and replied half-heartedly as if she was annoyed.
Are you talking about that again? I would have already told you that I don't want to hear it anymore.
Ella still didn't seem to believe me. Perhaps it was a matter of course. It was only a few days ago that Ella and I got to know each other. I once again spoke earnestly to Ella. Ella, please give me a moment. There's something I have to say. Ella, who sighed once, stood up from her seat and said,
All right, but not for long. It's just for a minute.
Thank you, Ella. So I took Ella to my lab.
So what do you have to say?
Instead of answering Ella's question, I looked outside again and quietly locked the door. Ella looked at me with a very wary look on her face.
What are you doing? Hey, you.
Ella, lower your voice. I warned Ella and started talking about it in earnest. Ella, how long have you been working here?
2 months. Why do you ask that?
I've been working here for 3 years. Ella looked at me, as if she was dumbfounded. I went on and on regardless. Ella, you won't know. What terrible things are going on here? Then Ella sighed and said,
Why? Are there any illegal biological experiments taking place here?
To Ella's question, I looked her in the eye and answered, It's not illegal. But it's a lot of ethical issues. If it continue like this, we can't guarantee what the world will be like in the future. I tried to persuade Ella with my most serious eyes and tone, but she only burst out laughing at my words.
Oh, really? So what? Save the world together?
Ella's response, that didn't trust me at all, made me speechless.
Researcher Benjamin, save the world by yourself. I don't have the ability to save the world.
Ella, who said so, tried to open the door. But my locked door didn't open without my fingerprints. Ella looked back at me with an annoyed look.
What the hell? Open this door, now.
I once again spoke to Ella in an earnest voice. You can do it. Ella, you can do it. You have to believe me. However, Ella continued to pull only the locked door hook, without answering. Ella, Genotech Robotics is a company that sells eternal life. What do you think a company like this can't do? Ella answered without looking back, holding the doorknob.
Isn't it a good thing to live forever?
Of course, it may be good in some cases. But only the rich are allowed to live forever. Thanks to Genotech Robotics, the rich can never let go of their once held wealth and power. And the poor are living miserable lives under such people, and disappearing like trash. I paused for a moment and went on again. Do you really think a world like this is right? And from now on, more terrible things will happen, if we don't stop this now.
Stop, that's enough.
Ella, who cut me off, looked back at me with an angry look.
I don't want to hear any more. Open this door, right now.
Ella looked as if she was about to rush at me, and instinctively feeling that something was going wrong, I slowly backed away from her. But the next moment, to my surprise, Ella tore off the whole locked door, threw it outside, and went out of my room. I was confused about everything. I wanted to give up everything right away, and disappear from here. But I couldn't. Humans are terribly greedy and selfish beings, and such human greed has been embodied in this giant genotech robotics. And because I am also a greedy and selfish human being, who is no different from them at all.